I can already feel this sort of chaos because I'm going to try to keep this relatively brief. I'm filming earlier than I normally do, and I'm going to try to get this out earlier than I normally do because I'm leaving town and I want to get this done because we have something fun that's going to start the minute you see this video. So I'll see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to episode 50 of Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the intersection of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I am a knitter and a crocheter. I can be found on social media, on Instagram as Gary Knits, Gary Rides, and over on Ravelry as Gary Knits and Rides. And I always forget to do this up front, so here is a QR code. Everything that I mention today, from patterns to craftivism ideas, are going to be linked down below in the show notes. If you are not watching this on your mobile device, you can scan that QR code and it will take you right to the Google Docs with all the links. So I hope you are having a wonderful first day of October. That is when I am filming this. And fall is here. Today's warm, but we have had some nice fall weather, so I am one of those who loves the change from summer to fall. Summer is my least favorite of the seasons, but things have gotten a little bit cooler here, which I enjoy, and it's actually been kind of foggy in the morning, which I also enjoy. So I'm not quite sweat the weather yet, but I mentioned I'm going out of town, and we're going to be in the mountains, and it will be much cooler there, so I am looking forward to grabbing a couple shawls and probably my Rhinebeck sweater from last year and taking them with us on this little long weekend trip, and hopefully finally getting to wear some sweaters. It's been a relatively quiet couple weeks, lots and lots of knitting time, so we're going to talk about that. And we kind of ended the summer with our final Hollywood Bowl concert. It was Una Noche de Cumbia, or de Cumbia, and it was a lot of fun. We went with our across the street neighbors, and it was a big party in the Hollywood Bowl. I think there were representatives in the audience and on the stage, actually, because it wasn't all Colombian. I thought it would primarily be Colombian bands, but there was a Salvadoran band, a Colombian band, a Mexican band, and we missed, I think, they had like 6 or 7, and we missed the first few there. But it was, especially for the Colombian band, everyone was up and dancing and having a great time. So that was a fun way to end the season at Hollywood Bowl. Probably not my favorite season of the whatever it is 6 or 7 that we've been to. I don't know, just there were no super big highlights from the season, and one of the shows got canceled, as I mentioned last time, but nevertheless it's always a good time to hang out at the Hollywood Bowl and enjoy some picnic and some music. Got my COVID and flu shots on the same day this week, and did that really knock us out for about 24 hours. My husband had already gotten his flu shot, but we both went in and got our COVID shots. I'm glad I did it ahead of this trip. I have a fair amount, for me anyway, a fair amount of travel in the next month. Yeah, the next month or month and a half, and so I am glad to have those done ahead of those travels. Not that it's 100% protection, but I think it's better to have that heading into big group situations than not. So, but it did really knock us out and my shoulder where the COVID shot was really sore for several days. Anyway, it all passed in 24 hours. It was no big deal. In terms of other things that have been going on, spending a lot of time every weekend writing letters to voters in Arizona for the upcoming election. My local Indivisible group, which I've been a part of, which since it started in 2016, both in leadership and currently not, but they have been incredibly active and have had a huge wave of volunteers to write letters through Vote Forward to voters in Arizona. If you're not familiar, Vote Forward is a nonpartisan organization, so the letters are nonpartisan. We're not saying vote for a particular candidate, but we're just encouraging folks to get out and vote. Now, they have pulled these voter lists from people that they believe have a better than average chance of voting for the Democrats, so we're trying to activate those voters and not necessarily do anything extra to activate the other sides, but it's just a way to try to get low propensity voters out to vote, because turnout's going to be the whole ball game this time around. I believe, well, probably almost every time. Anyway, the only thing that I wanted to mention up front that's kind of going on before we jump into craftivism and the knitting and the crocheting and the acquisitions. The Knit Stars Season 9 sign-up window has reopened, so that is going to be open until this Sunday, October 6th. So if you have not yet had your chance to buy the Season 9, which is the season that I'm a part of, you have another opportunity to do that over the next few days. There is a discount code. It's Embroider24. And if you punch that in at checkout, you'll get an additional $20 off. I think the sale price right now is $297, so that would drop it down to $277. This opening of the window is to celebrate the release of this month's masterclass. So it's Carolyn Bloom. She is doing, it's one of the classes I'm most excited about watching. It's a great season, and I'm not just saying that because it's me. I'm excited to see my thing, but I'm also very, very excited for a lot of the other content that's going into this season. Carol Feller has already been out. Hazel Tyndall's already out. So Carolyn Bloom is coming out this weekend, I believe, and she is doing a class on embroidery on knit and crochet items. So her project is a crochet, I believe is a crochet like one of those little scarves with embroidery, but I think she also is talking about in her class how to kind of upcycle maybe old knitwear items, crocheted items in your wardrobe and kind of give them a new life with embroidery. Her work is incredibly beautiful. So if you have any interest in that, there's a link down below. That is my affiliate link, so I get a little commission if you sign up through that. But check it out. And then I don't know if there's one more in November, or if they are taking a month off, and then all of the rest of them are coming out in December at the end of the year, which is when mine will come out as well. So I just wanted to let you know about that. I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on or has been. No, going to the mountains, celebrating a friend's 50th birthday, or a couple friends' 50th birthday in the mountains. So that'll be kind of fun. I'm expecting some really delicious food because we're going to New Mexico, and that's where my whole family's from. So it will be nice to have some home cooking kind of food. Lots of red and green chili enchiladas. So let's talk about craftivism. I mentioned the My Knit Stars season, which is in addition to the project that I've shown several times that we do in that class. The class is going to be all about craftivism and sort of the things that I've learned over the last several years in terms of raising money for AIDS Life Cycle and other organizations, and sort of tying crafting in with that fundraising. I should mention, I forgot, I did want to mention this because it was announced, I think, since the last time I recorded. Not a gigantic surprise, but still sad news that this year is going to be the last year of AIDS Life Cycle. So the event has been going on, for those of you who may be first-time watchers, thank you for coming. But AIDS Life Cycle is an event that I participated in for the last 6 years, and kind of the reason why this channel got started. And it was a 545-mile, 7-day bike ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, raising money for the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and the Los Angeles LGBT Center. It has a 31-year history. The first ride, back when it was called California AIDS Ride, was in '94, I believe. And I think they've raised over $350 million for these two organizations over those years. So it has been an amazing fundraising success. The last few years have been difficult. COVID really took a lot of the wind out of the sails. I think that costs have also gone up. And so they are planning to make this the last year of AIDS Life Cycle as this 7-day, 545-mile event. I think they're really focused right now on making this the biggest one ever. In fact, once they made the announcement, they had so many people sign up that they've had to pause registration. So I think that I heard through the grapevine that they're almost at 4,000 riders. They still need roadies. So if it is something that you have always thought you'd like to do and you would like to be a roadie, it's a really, really fun way to experience the ride. Definitely do that. I think they're going to reevaluate kind of where they are in terms of rider registration later on. I think they're going to take this year to make this as big a bang going out as they can, and then re-look at what they might do for events down the road in terms of maybe making it a shorter ride or something like that. I don't know I have no insight into what it actually might end up looking like down the road. But it is sort of sad, not sort of sad, it is very sad for the community because it, like I said, it has a 30-year history and has meant a lot to a lot of people, including myself. Unfortunately, I had said that last year was going to be my last year. I hit my fundraising goal, and I thought in my head that maybe 10 years down the road, when I'm well into my 60s, that maybe I would do it again one more time just to prove that I could. So that's not going to happen, and I have a family commitment that is a commitment, and I can't do this last ride, even though I think it would be a really fun event, and I have a ton of friends who are doing it. So all that being said, I will be continuing to raise money for AIDS Life Cycle this year as an at-home hero, which is what they call folks who are raising money but not either roading or riding. And I kind of set a goal for $5,000 for myself. More on that down the road in a future Craftivism segment. There will be a Destash for Good for that. There may be a knit along sometime in the spring to raise money for that. So if you're a designer and you have something that may be coming out in the spring that you'd like to let me use for a knit along, crochet along fundraiser, let me know. Anyway, but I had forgotten to mention that up front. But for this episode's Craftivism, I mentioned in my Knit Stars that my Knit Stars thing was going to be, a lot of it's going to be about Craftivism. And so as part of your course package that you're going to get in addition to the pattern, there's going to be some information, some resources. And in that I list several organizations that have been around for a while, that consistently are, in that intersection between crafting and doing good. But one that I had not mentioned on the podcast, at least I don't think I have, is Knitted Knockers, and it's going to be in the course pack. But it came to my attention on my weekly Zoom this week, my Knit Night Zoom, that they had just put out a call because they were running low on the Knitted Knockers. So if you're not familiar with Knitted Knockers, they collect hand knit, and I think there's some crochet ones as well, prosthetic breasts for women who have had mastectomies or other surgery, other complications from breast cancer. And they have a whole bunch of patterns that have been tested They give you all of the details, especially in terms of the type of yarn, because it's right up against your skin. It can be very sensitive. So they have approved yarns that have been approved by the organization for the knitted knockers. So there's a link down below to the organization, but it sounds like they've kind of are running a little light on what they normally like to have around to be able to distribute out to their clients. And so if y'all have some of that yarn in your stash or can grab some and would like to knit up some of those, they would be most appreciative, I'm sure. So that was the first thing. The second thing that I wanted to mention was not just my hat, but this is the Kamala is Brat pussy hat that I designed. Very simple duplicate stitch chart on a pretty basic pussy hat. But the reason I wanted to mention it, because this is the last time you're gonna get to see it, because I'm shipping it off to be hopefully part of a submission, at least, for the Co-Crafting Democracy exhibit. I had mentioned it last time on the podcast. The deadline for submissions is coming up towards the end of this month. I want to say it's the 25th. Everything is linked down below. It's run by a couple of professors at, I believe it's Rochester Institute of Technology. They've mounted this expedition several times, and each time I think they get a bunch of new submissions on, again, the intersection between, in this case, political activism and crafting. And so they have a call out for submissions. And so I know there's been a ton of folks out there knitting and crocheting and quilting things around this election. So I just keep wanting to bring it up to try to get as many of us to submit our things for the exhibition as possible. So the hat is still for sale up on Ravelry. It will be for the foreseeable future. 100% of the sale proceeds are being donated to the Harris Victory Fund. And I was really happy today because every month, it just sort of at the end of the month, I tally it up. So I have another $200 in sales to donate to the campaign. So I was feeling a little nervous or anxious. I think every day I'm just going to wake up anxious about about this election. But woke up today feeling a little anxious. And I was like, oh, today's the day I get to send in my this month's donation. So that kind of helps ease that anxiety. They always tell us in our individual groups that, don't agonize, organize. And so when you're feeling a little stressed out about the next 4 weeks, grab a postcard, do some postcarding, do some phone banking, sell some hats, make a donation, do whatever you can do to kind of help feel like you're moving the ball forward on that front. In that vein, since it's up and running, every time I sit down to film one of these and sort of think about the Craftivism section, I head over to the Makers for Harris Instagram account and see what new posts Molly has posted over there of folks in the crafting community that are doing fundraisers for the Harris Walls campaign. I found they weren't even actually new, but I just somehow missed them in the last couple of weeks. But I wanted to bring them attention because I thought they were really cute. The first is another hat. Here it is. It is by a designer, or her Instagram name is Liza Throws Things, and she's designed this Harris hat that she's selling the pattern as a donation to the Harris Walls campaign for $7.50. But there's also a coupon code if you just want to get it for free. It's super cute, and just wanted to raise that up. The other one is B. Castile. I think her name is Brenda. She has an Etsy shop called Good Stuff Crafts. Again, everything's going to be linked down below. She makes project bags, and I think she's a knitwear designer as well. But this is the one that Molly posted over on Makers for Harris. And here it is. It is this really adorable Kamala Harris print. And she has it in a bunch of different formats. So you can get the bucket bag, you can get different bottoms on it. There's a notions pouch, and I think there's also a larger size of the bag. So I grabbed one. I think maybe at the end of the election season, I'll do some sort of giveaway, because you'll see here in a minute when we get to acquisitions, I have one of my Kamala fundraiser yarns came in, and maybe I'll just do like a big election-related giveaway at the end of the election season, hopefully in celebration. So she is donating 20% of the proceeds from those bag sales to the Harris Walls campaign. So I thought that was a really cute print, and I say may give it away. I mean, I may hold on to it. I don't need any more project bags, but it's really cute. Anyway, but while we're here, you might as well mention again that that's a great resource, is the Makers for Harris Instagram feed that Molly is curating, with every sort of quilt and t-shirt and stickers and all sorts of things over there that folks have designed and made as fundraisers for the Harris campaign and for other sort of assorted organizations around the election. So go check that out. The last thing on Craftivism, and this is really not a new thing, this is the wind down of the Friday morning charity drive for Knit the Rainbow that they and I have collaborated on for the last, I guess, 6 weeks. It started mid-August and ran through yesterday. And I just saw they posted an updated total, and I forgot to jot it down before I came on here. So I'm going to put it across here, because when I checked last week, they had already had 300 items that had been made and were being donated to Knit the Rainbow from their group. And today they came out with the final total, and it was like, I don't know if it's double. You'll see here where it is relative to 300, but it was significantly more than 300. I am blown away. So Knit the Rainbow just announced that they had moved and just announced their new shipping address. I'll pop that down below as well. And I'm just so thrilled that this drive is going to sort of get them started with a big donation of items. I'm also thrilled because I normally knit hats for them, that I just figured that most of and I know that's what they get the most of is hats, but this group really showed up. They heard that socks were the biggest request item from the kids who were living on the street, and there were a ton of socks that were knit. I know some people also went out and bought some 6-packs of socks to throw in with their donated items. I saw people knitting sweaters, so it was a really great assortment. So thank you so much to the Friday morning charity community. Amanda and Kelly, thank you for reaching out to me. I mean, I talked about it, and that was about it, but I was thrilled to collaborate with you all. We had a ton of fun. If you haven't gone over to check out their Facebook group, please do. It's a wonderful community, and starting in November, they're going to have another drive. They do one just about every quarter. So if you like to knit things for charity, if you're like me and are trying to get through some stash down, and that's a great way to do it, head over there. There's a post, my last post over there. We're still going to have one last round of giveaways when I get back from this trip next Monday. I will draw 3 names for Skeins of Yarn. So if you haven't checked out Friday Morning Charity, go check it out. Post something, comment on that post of mine, and get entered into a giveaway. You may start off your Friday Morning Charity career with a big bang. Likewise, doing the same thing over in the in my Ravelry group in the thread regarding the Knit the Rainbow charity drive. We're going to do another round of giveaways over there, so go check that out. Oh, see this? I told you the chaos. Trying to do this on the wrong day at the wrong time, and I've completely messed up. I forgot. I have a winner to announce for something we'll talk about in a minute, but I forgot to jot that down as well. And I'm not gonna, maybe when we get there, I'll take a little break and go get it. Anyway, moving on. Got a lot of knitting to talk about because I'm doing a lot of knitting. If you have been here before, you know that we are in the midst of Baby Blanket Bingo Palooza Geddon. That we were surprised with 2 baby announcements it's been a couple months now, but coming soon in November. And so I have scrambled to put together some baby blanket projects, and not just a basic baby blanket. I decided, to be a little extra. So I've been working on those furiously. I've kind of gone through each of them and decided I need to do X rows of this, X rows of that in order to hit the deadline for that, because I also have another blanket project. So I'm working on 3 blankets concurrently. The other one, the Curduck blanket, I'll throw a picture of it up here. I'm not going to show the progress. It's going great. I love it. I'm about a third of the way through. I will show it again when I'm much further along. That one I can kind of push to January, because not push the completion of it to January because it's for a birthday, or it was for a housewarming that the house was bought several years ago. But the next possible big gifting opportunity is a birthday in January, so that's probably what's going to become. So, but I've calculated that I need to be knitting 4 rows on that every day to kind of keep pace. And on the other baby blankets, I have the similar thing. I have to do X number of rows for several of these projects each day. It's gotten complicated with this trip. I don't know about the ones later on, because I'm hoping to be pretty well done by the next round of travel, because they're not one of them's portable, one of them is not, and so I've been kind of front end loading my work on one of them this week so that I can take the more portable with me on the plane, and hopefully get the bulk of the way through that. So let's get into it. The one that is not portable, let's talk about that one first. This is the one I've been working the most on recently. This is the Flying Foxtails blanket by Stephen West, brioche, 2-color brioche, and I am really enjoying it. Here's where we are. So it's basic brioche with some increases and decreases, and then you do these sort of super increases every, I think it's probably like 7 or 8 rows, or 8 rows maybe, to create these kind of fans, sea anemones, sea something. They, I guess those are the Flying Foxtails, but and then the brioche ribs grow out of those. So the reverse side, the yarn I am using is white is Cascade 220. The variegated pastel-y blues and purples is a Magpie Fibers from the Fiber Society subscription that I do with them. I can't remember when that one came. It's like Fiber Society number 34, but I have no idea. It was sometime in the last year I got that. And it's their Swanky DK. So they're MCN based. The Cascade's 100% superwash merino, but DK weight as well. The Cascades, I would say a heavier DK than this one, so they're a little bit different in terms of the sort of thickness of the yarn, but I don't think that has made that big of a difference. But I've enjoyed the process so far. Not too many problems. You can see, it may be hard to see, maybe it's easier on this side. After the second repeat, I was like, am I pushing my luck by not having a lifeline in there? So I ran a piece of dental floss. The first time I did this with these are the Chowgu red lace needles, but the first time I used a little hole there to thread the lifeline through and work through it. It worked the second time. First time I did it, it worked. It pulled it through, but then when I went to knit the next row, somehow it pulled the end of it into the middle of the work, and which at the end of the day was a moot point, because somewhere coming out of one of these fan sections, so on the first or second row after you've done the massive increase, I don't know what happened. was working out in the middle of the day. There was stuff going around in the house. I put it down at one point and picked it back up. It was on a contrast color row, and I think I barked when I sort of burped, or I reversed it. I think I brioche purled when I was supposed to be brioche knitting. Went on for 2 more rows, and added the lifeline in between that, and then when I discovered the mistake. So that's why I was saying that at the end of the day, that lifeline didn't really matter, because that it kind of got messed up because the mistake was before the lifeline. And so I had to tink back 5 or 6 rows. It's like 1,000 stitches, and did not do a great job. When I got to some of the increases and decreases when I was tinking back, I undid them somehow the wrong way. So I just kept creating more problems for myself. So it was like, I got to a point where I was like, okay, now, I can, I got to the point where I should have been able to be like, okay, now I've solved the mistake and I can start up again. But then I had created other mistakes and had to get like some rows beyond that. Finally got back to a point where I had it set, worked back through it, ran the lifeline through again, and seemingly we're back to the races. So I've worked past it. I haven't done a ton of brioche. When I first learned it, we were taught to like, lifelines are your friends. And I put it in. I'm not 100% sold, because I feel like the last time I ever had to use one, that going back and picking up through the lifeline was almost as time consuming as tinking back. I guess it's a question of how many rows you have to tink back. If I get another repeat into this and I make a mistake, then I'll probably be glad I have the lifeline. I remember it being extremely time consuming to work those stitches back onto the needles. What I did this time to avoid the thread being pulled back through is I just tied it onto one of these little rings on either side, because I used the same floss that in the original lifeline. So I could have probably added a few inches to it to give it a little more slack, but it's going to be fine. And so because of that, if it's straight brioche ribbing, I have had some success of going back and being able to fix mini mistakes. So a yarn over that didn't get yarn over properly, or a brioche knit should have been a brioche purl. I've had some success doing that. But once we start getting into working around increases and decreases, I just feel like that's too dicey. And where the issue was right on the first row after this massive set increases. So if you drop down to it, it's almost like dropping down to like a cast on row. It just gets this kind of like loose mess down there, because the stitches aren't really, they're just 18 stitches in one or something. So it felt like to try to drop down and fix the mistakes was not going to be feasible. So that's why I tinked back. But anyway, making good progress in this. I'm 3.5 repeats through out of, I think it needs 9 or 10. So it's going pretty well. There's 2 rows out of the 32 row repeat, and I call a row like just one pass, so it's really 16 back and forths. There's only 2 out of the 32 that are kind of fussy, and those are the ones where you have to do those massive increase, 18 out of 1 or whatever increases that in those base of the fans. But otherwise, I'm enjoying the project, and I love the squishy, lovely fabric that brioche makes. So that's the Flying Foxtails. The other baby blanket project that I'm working on is one of the patterns out of this, kind of recipes really, out of this book. This is Mix and Match Modern Crochet Blankets by Esme Crick. I'm doing, actually it's the one that's the blues, yellows, and greens here. I'm using that one as the base. I had to adjust one of the motifs, But you basically crochet these strips of varying heights, and then stitch them all together and put a border around it and some tassels. I think mine is 11 strips. I'm down to the final 4, I think. So I'm taking two with me on the trip that are pretty straightforward. And then I think when I get back, the only one I have to do is this contrast bobble one. The other one that I'm working on that I will show you, I'm not going to pull out all the strips. I showed a couple of them last time, and I'll show the blanket again once I get it pieced together. But one of the panels that is suggested in that version of the blanket was a technique I had never experienced before, and several of the motifs that she has in the back, and there's 100, I think, of them. Some are called tapestry crochet, which I was unfamiliar with exactly what that meant. I could see that it was color work, and the other was mosaic crochet, which was also color work. And I know mosaic knitting, and I thought maybe it had some similarities to that. The one that was in the pattern that I chose was mosaic. So here's what it is. It's called Flying High, I think is what she called this. They look like crosses to me. She referred to them as birds, or bird shaped. And I don't really quite understand what the difference. I mean, there's a difference in the technique, but I don't really understand why you would use one technique versus the other. So this is mosaic, and so what you do to create the patterning, as you can see here, you basically chain with these big gaps, and each color's worked for 2 rows. So you work one across and one back, and then you go back, and you do the next. In this case, the next row is going to be the blue, and you end up dipping down to where the last blue was and working those, and so that is what kind of creates this. The gray shows through, and you create these patterns. You don't work through the chains that you carry over the top, and they're meant to just sort of like hang in the back. So I can show you what they're saying it should look like is this, where you have these are the chains that you just did and then worked over, I suppose, on the next rows. But I just didn't think for a baby, like having all that loose thread in the back was a great idea. And so they said, oh, you can work kind of around it, so you can work into it, work it around it. It doesn't. I think it doesn't make as clean a front because the gray is being wrapped by that blue. It does show through a bit more. But I think I liked it better from a baby blanket perspective than having these kind of loose things that I just feel like are going to get pulled and chewed on and whatnot. I mean, this thing is already going to have bobbles and tassels on it, so maybe I'm worrying about the wrong things. But it was kind of interesting, and my understanding, just having looked, none of the patterns in mine call for the tapestry, what they're calling tapestry crochet, but it's a similar, color, but it's kind of more like intarsia, I feel like, because you carry both of the threads all the way at the same time. You just kind of work around the thread or the yarn that you're not losing, kind of on the top of your row, and then when you need one, you just take it, wrap it, work around the other one, and then switch back and forth. So you have you'll have some little floats, I suppose. Like I said, the pattern that I chose doesn't. I don't think none of the motifs in that are that tapestry crochet, but it's something I'd like to play around with down the road. The mosaic, I'm glad to have learned a new technique. I'm not sure I would ever need to do this again. It's okay looking. I just think it's not as crisp as it could be, but it looks okay. It'll be something nice and graphic and different than the other. It's the only sort of color work motif in that. I keep looking down. Sorry, I keep looking down at the picture. It's the only one that has color work. So I'm working in blues and greens, and this gray is sort of this pale gray is the neutral in the group. But there's like a grassy green, there's like a chartreuse green, and then there's like a baby blue, and then this turquoise. So I have taking two with me on the road. They're just basically, one's a half double crochet, very very skinny, and the other one is a textured kind of wave pattern. So those are great. You make them 40 inches long. That'll be perfect for the plane and for sitting around in we have a bus ride to an event when we get there that will probably give me a couple hours of crocheting. So that'll be a good thing to have with me, and then I'll be just down to the bobbles and hopefully can get that wrapped up in the next couple weeks in terms of the strips, and then start working on piecing them together. So those are the two baby blanket projects. November due dates. I don't know exactly when the babies are due, so I'm just kind of aiming for the middle of the month. I figure I get a couple weeks of cushion to get a baby present to someone. So hopefully I get those all finished up by end of November, and then the big project will be the Curduck blanket with a January-December finish time on that. So, but of course, with 3 gigantic projects underway, what should I do but decide to start 2 more projects that don't necessarily have hard deadlines, but one of them kind of does, but the other one that we're going to talk about here just in a minute does not. Actually, I can show you my my sort of other travel project, which is just for riding around the car here. But I mentioned last time that Amy Sadler from Knitty Magazine announced that she was running this Clapotis Fest to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Clapotis pattern, which I think was Knitty's biggest pattern maybe ever, but certainly when they released it, it was a huge success, and has been modified and done thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And to celebrate that, she got a bunch of dyers to dye up yarn and knit their own Clapotis, and they have a huge pile of prizes that they're going to give away for folks who are knitting up the Clapotis as part of this celebration. If you're unfamiliar, here's a picture of it. I can't believe that you were unfamiliar with it, but maybe if you're a brand new knitter, you've never even heard of it. But I've never knit one. It's always been on my list of something I wanted to do. In fact, I have 2 kits of it kitted up to make, but I thought, why not? This is a perfect time. I think December 1st is the deadline to get yours done, to get it photographed if you want to enter into the prizes, which of course, why not? Free yarn, who doesn't want it? And so last time I think I talked about the yarn, but I have cast mine on and started it. Here it is. It doesn't look that exciting while you're knitting it. It's just an ever-growing triangle because it's hard to see, especially with this yarn, what else is going on other than stockinette here. The real magic of the pattern happens once it gets to a certain size. You have, you can see all these stitch markers. Basically where every stitch marker is along here, you're going to drop that stitch and let it unravel all the way down. And so it instantly creates this big open work look to the piece. So I'm about halfway through the increases. So I think it ends up being like a large rectangular piece. I'm about halfway through the increases, and then you do it straight for a while, and then you start the decreases, and somewhere in there you start unraveling things. It's a very straightforward pattern in terms of what you're doing. You just have to kind of keep track of what, I think it's like a 12 row, 6 row, 8 rows, something between 6 and 12 row repeat, and then you basically start over again, and you've added another marker where you're going to drop another stitch, and you just kind of keep increasing. On either side of the drop stitches, there's some slip stitches, but it's really hard to see this in this pattern. So what yarn I am using, this is Lola Bean Yarn Co. It is an Aran weight yarn, and this is the, oh my god, Wakabi? One of her Black Panther inspired colorways. Again, the chaos. I'll put it up here. I think Wakabi, Inkabi. I think Wakabi sounds right. Anyway, I thought this would be a great fall colorway to use. I'm really happy with the way it's working up. These colors are going to be great for my normal wardrobe because I do a lot of olives and blues, and I think the orange and the off-white will be a nice contrast to that. So this also is coming with me on the road. You know, it's a 4-day trip. So I think the rule is N+1 in terms of the number of projects you need to take versus the number of days that you're going to be traveling. But I do know that if all I had was crochet, at some point I'd be like, I really want to be knitting and not crocheting. So I'm gonna have this as an alternative to the crochet. So the goal is, again, I think I need to do 6 rows on this every single day. I'm trying to do 1 full repeat, which I think is 12 right now. So I'm trying to get work ahead so I have plenty of time in case something else comes up, or I decide I want to start another knit along. So I'm hoping to make sure I have enough time to finish it up. If I don't, it's not going to be the end of the world if I can't enter the contest, but I just thought it'd be fun to play along. Let me just show off the hat that I'm working on. This is going to be a donation hat to Warm the Line, which I mentioned before. They collect and distribute hats to folks who live in areas where Republicans are trying to make it as difficult as possible for people, particularly people of color, to vote, and forcing them to stand in long lines in November in the elements. And so they distribute hats to those communities to hand out so that they can try to keep people warm and thus keep them standing in line so they can vote. This is the Wister hat, Wister, by Courtney Kelly. It is part of the Kelborn Woolens Year of Bulky Hats series. It's reminiscent of another hat that I've done that's a worsted weight hat called Be Wind that also has this spiral effect done differently. This one, that's just the sort of twisted stitches on a stockinette base. This kind of floats on top of a kind of like a reverse stockinette base, I suppose. It is being done in Knit Picks Chroma Twist Bulky. I cannot remember the colorway. There's a chance it's in the bag. Let's see. Dear Diary, I don't think that's right. I think that's the pink one. Lakefront, how's that? That's right, Lakefront. So Chroma Twist Bulky, 70% superwash nylon, superwash wool, 30% nylon, colorway Lakefront, bulky weight 127 yards per 100 gram. I've knit a bunch of hats in this. It's just great because the yarn does the work for you. But it's a fun, it's a very fun, straightforward pattern. Not as mindless as the Be Wind hat, which is again done on a worsted weight. You could totally adapt it, I suppose. But I just wanted to try this one. This one, you have to pay a little bit more attention because you're working in reverse stockinette versus a stockinette. So there's purling that has to happen in there. But that is that. Which brings us to, so I had no FOs this week. It was all whips. I don't think I finished a dang thing. It's the problem with working on giant projects, and I'm probably not going to get any work done on that hat between now and the next time. I can't think of any because I'm not taking it with me on the trip. So that is it for actual knitting going on. But as I mentioned, because I have 3 gigantic projects on a deadline and now have started a make-along with a deadline, I thought it was only proper to start another make-along. It is make-along season, it is mystery knit-along season. I am not participating in the mystery knit-along this year, and I know there may be others of you who are not participating in the mystery knit-along this year, but you have a little bit of FOMO, and I do too. So what I decided, and talked about this the last couple of episodes, is I'm going to do a knit-along starting on the same day as the mystery knit-along. It is also going to be a Westknits knit-along, but no mystery. So this person, please reach out to me. You made a comment and got to name this knit-along. So it is called the Go West knit-along. The rules are very, very simple. We're going to use the Go West KAL hashtag on Instagram. There will be a thread on my Ravelry page as well to play along. You can work on any Stephen West project. It does not have to be a shawl. I know not everybody loves shawls, so grab a sock pattern, grab a hat pattern, grab a sweater pattern, grab a blanket pattern. It can be a whip, it can be a new start. It is the backup name for the knit-along was going to be Westknits and Chill, because I want to keep this as laid back as possible. So it's going to start today, assuming I get this up on Thursday, because this is the day that the Stephen West Mystery Knit-along kicks off. But we are going to run it through the end of the year. So you do not need to sit down with your calendar and figure out how many rows you need to knit in a day to keep up, because there is no keeping up. And everyone's going to be working on different projects, so it doesn't matter anyway. And we're just going to have fun with it. I have so many Stephen West patterns that I want to knit. That was primarily the reason why I decided not to do the mystery knit-along this year, although I've always enjoyed it, even when I frogged it. But also because the sort of clues he's dropped about it made me a little hesitant, because it's the same type of clues that he dropped about the twist and turn, which ended up being the one I did frog. But now that I've said that, I know fully that as soon as I start seeing the pattern, it's going to be something that I love and want to do. But I'll just add it to the queue. So, but I have so many Stephen West things in my queue. I was like, let's get one of those done using Stash. So, drop in the comments down below what Stephen West pattern you are interested in casting on or working on during the Go West KAL. I am going to be working on the Botanic shawl. Here it is. It's a fingering weight shawl. It uses one solid color and one self-striping. And what I have decided to use is Urban Girl Yarns. This is her Virginia fingering base in the colorway Allentown. Kind of a really nice blue-gray. And I am going to use as the self-striping Chroma fingering. Sandpiper colorway, so it has some of that blue. It's kind of getting all kind of mushed together here in terms of like the colors. And it is very subtle, but there's dark gray. There's some exact match to that blue, which I think will be nice, and then it goes to a much paler blue and into this pink. I had to wind, the other ball of this I had was all janky from being in bend for some time. The ball bend popped off and it got all messed up. So I wound it into another ball. And it has a lot more of this pinky purple in it than either of the balls showed wound up. So I think it's going to be a nice enough contrast that it's not going to be too blendy with the blue. But it looks like it's going to be a fun, chill pattern, so I'm really looking forward. It's been on my list for a long time, and I've seen other people who have made it and had a really good experience with it, so I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to, maybe during the vice presidential debate tonight, I'm going to wind up one of the skeins of the Urban Girl yarns, and I am going to take this with me on the trip, just to get it started. Probably not going to work too much on it, a little bit here and there, over the next few weeks, but the primary focus has got to be these baby blankets. But I just wanted to start it since we're starting this knit along, and I love casting on new projects. I don't know why. The planning for me is almost as much fun as the knitting of it. So that's it. The Go West KAL, running from October 6th through December 31st. Let me know what you're working on. As soon as you pick out your colors and your yarns and your patterns, head over to the Ravelry page and a Ravelry group, into the thread, and let us know what you're working on. There are going to be some fun things along the way, prizes. I've built up a really nice stash of prizes to give away, and because I'm not doing my regular knit-alongs every quarter anymore, this would be a great way to get through some of that stash. In terms of acquisitions, this round relatively light. I mentioned up front that a couple of my Kamala fundraising things have come in the mail, including this t-shirt, which is from Modern Quilt Studio. This is the quilt design that Weeks and Bill developed that was such a tremendous success. I think it has been downloaded well over 15,000 times at $10 a pop. It's a huge amount of money from a single pattern for donated to the campaign. I also have had a couple of the yarns that I ordered come in, or not come in yet, but they're on the way. One has come in, and this is from my friend Sarah at Sea Change Fibers. This is her colorway called Unity. She also has this is a purpley blue, but there's a even more purple in a lace weight that's called Strength, and she's selling them together as a fundraiser. This one was I'll link to it down below. Not sure if she's still taking pre-orders on this or not. I picked it up. This is on her Fjord Tweed Sport, which is 89% Rambouillet, 11% acrylic. This sort of tweedy sport base, and again, I said maybe I was going to use all of these fundraiser things as giveaways, but I kind of love this and kind of might want to make a hat for myself out of it because it's sport weight, so it's a good weight for around here. Anyway, I think it's beautiful. Sarah does an amazing job with her yarns. The other yarn that I got this week or the last couple weeks is my Woolens Nosh September colorway. So good, so autumnal. It is called Free to a Good Home, One Friendly Rooster, and it is on her 9010 Targhee superwash Targhee nylon base. And yeah, every time I see these, I'm like, ooh, do I want socks or do I want like some sort of cowl-y type project? But I feel like this is socks because I have a lot of brights, and this one's a little on the more darker side. So sorry, Michelle, I was covering up your logo there. But it's always a fun day of the month when I do these. I can have to start knitting some socks soon, but maybe if I stopped starting knit-along projects, I'd have some time to knit socks. The other thing that I want to show you that was my acquisition, I showed it on Instagram, but I thought I would show it here as well. We talked about AIDS life cycle. I took all of my jerseys, so I started doing AIDS fundraising cycling races, rides back in the late 90s. I think 97 was my first ride, and then I did them for several years, then took a 20-year break, and then picked it up again when we moved to California. But I still have jerseys from all of my rides, and knowing that this last year was my last ride, I grabbed most of them. I grabbed most of the jerseys from the rides and sent them off to a company called Too Cool T-shirt Quilts and have them turn those into a quilt. And I said also every year I take all of my sponsors, anyone who's made a donation, and I write their name in fabric ink or fabric pen on just a blank jersey, on a plain colored jersey. So I have a bunch of those as well. I sent those in as well. I probably should have kept one now that I think about it. But anyway, so they got my quilt back to me this week. I didn't want it. I have so many jerseys that it would have made, probably 2 king-size quilts if I really wanted to use every bit of every jersey. But I said, just pick and choose what you think are the most graphic bits. And there were certain things that I wanted on them for sure. Like I have, when my grandmothers were alive, they were both donors. And so one of my very first jerseys has, their names on it. So I said, I really want that on there. There were certain graphics that I thought were really cool that I thought, I definitely want that on there as well. But I kind of let them do what they wanted to do. And so it came back this week. And so I said I didn't want it gigantic because it's going to mainly be used for, just like hanging out on the couch and like if we ever go on a picnic or something like that, since it's very durable fabric, since it's cycling jerseys. But it was really cool because they've kept some zippers in place and some pockets and stuff. So I'm going to take a quick break and I'm going to grab it and stand back there and show it to you, and then I'll be back here in a second. Okay, well. So here is the jersey quilt. Can I even, that's bigger than my wingspan. But you can see they did this awesome rainbow border on it, and it's backed in like a royal blue. Let's see if I can scroll up. But they did a great job. Yeah, you can see there on that yellow one in the middle. They did a really fun job with the quilting, and in certain places, I don't know if I can show this, but in certain places they outlined like the letters on the jersey, and it really, really makes them pop. But it's pretty big, and it could have been bigger, but I think it turned out great. I will come back to the main screen now. And we're back. So that is the quilt. Again, the company, I'll link it down to them below as well. Too Cool T-shirt quilts. They did an amazing job. They were really attentive to what I wanted out of the quilt in terms of like the specific things. And they have a whole system that they use to mark what you want cut out. And then they give you many options in terms of sizes, and do you want a border, do you not want a border, to try to manage the cost to stay within your budget. It's a luxury product. It's a hand-done thing, so it is not inexpensive. But if you have something, like that is something that you want to, for me at least, I want to hold on to that for the rest of my life. And it is much more valuable to me to have that than to have 50 or 60 jerseys hanging in my closet or going to Goodwill. So for me, it was definitely worth the cost, because it's something that I think I will treasure for a long time, and holds a lot of memories for me. And especially now that the ride is ending, it really is going to mean even that much more. So I'll drop a link down below for them. But that was the big acquisition that came in this week. I have a couple more skeins of fundraising yarn that are coming in. We'll figure out what to do with those in terms of giveaways or whatever. But I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to hopefully try to get this edited really quickly so that I can get it posted on Thursday, which will be the kickoff day for the Go West KAL as well as the MKAL. For all of those who celebrate the MKAL, I hope you have a great time. I cannot wait to see what you do, and I'm sure, since I'm not doing it, it's going to be the one that I instantly fall in love with and wished I did, but that is what it is. Have a great next couple of weeks. I hope you are enjoying the change in weather, if it has in fact changed where you are. If you've enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, share with a friend. We continue to try to build this little community and spread the word about combining our love of crafting with doing a little bit of good in the world. So have a great couple of weeks. I will see you soon. Thank you.